Hey guys, and welcome back to Schneid's 15. If you see my last video, I took out my motor out of my Skidoo. In this video, we're going to be putting the motor mounts in and throwing the motor back in. It'll be just as easy to see putting the motor back in if you're going to pull out a motor. I would think when I go to put it back in, you're going to see everything you got to take off in the reverse order, and it'll be a lot easier to see when it goes back in how stuff goes. So if you're going to take out a motor, this is just as good to watch watching it go back in. Anyways, in my last video, I got rid of the old stud that was broke off in there, bolt. I got some new ones from Skidoo. I went to Fastenal everywhere. Nobody had them. So anyways, I got them from Dew. They're 22 millimeter now instead of 20 millimeter. They were M6 by 20. The upgraded part is M6 by 22. Anyways, there's the old motor mounts, new bolts. I put them in there so I wouldn't lose them. Gaskets, we're gonna reuse those. They look fine. Come over to the sled. We're all ready to go in here. We're nice and clean. I set my pipe in here because I polished it a bit. I didn't make it too shiny, but I polished it a bit while it was out because I could get on it all. It looks pretty nice. I got another hood here. That's a clear Lexan hood that I'm going to cut out and probably put on so it'll look pretty sweet with the pipe in there, because apparently if you hang this thing on the wall, anybody will pay about 800 bucks for that hood. Kind of a joke. No, I'll run with that hood, but I'm going to cut this one out and try it, have it to run too. Anyways, all the parts are all distributing. Ended up being SPI. Said that they were EPI, but anyways, there's the mounts. Apparently they work really good. I just had these in the freezer, so they're really cold. I'm going to heat up my engine mount a bit, and that should aid in our install. Should make it a lot easier. Quality looks just as good as OEM. They're nice and stiff, a lot better than my old ones. So let's get to pressing these bad boys in and getting it reattached to the motor and throwing this thing back in. Alright, so I started by pressing them in with my vise. I'd really recommend if you have a shop press, guys. I did it, but it was really hard to do. That's why I didn't show it. Anyways, I pressed them in. They all got in pretty well flush. So I take it and I throw it inside the chassis here just to make sure it fits all right in there, because there was a couple of them that were out about a 1/16 of an inch and I couldn't get them in. But anyways, it fit just perfectly fine. So that was fine. Anyways, we pull that out. I bolt it to the bottom of the motor and bring it over. Now we're ready to install it. I have the electric start off of it because it won't slide in with the electric starter on. So I get that slid in there, and then when it's halfway on there, you'll see I'm putting the starter on now. Get that bolted up. You can just kind of do it while the engine's on an angle. I found was easiest. So work away at that. There's 3 bolts there. They're all different sizes, so you'll figure that out. Once that's done, you can get to doing all your wiring on the starter. There's a ground wire that goes onto it, and there's a positive wire, obviously, for starting it. So make sure those are attached and the guards are on those. Then I pushed that in once that was done, and I took my motor mount bolts. I put blue Loctite on them, and I started by threading them in. They're T50, so I started torquing that one up, and then I did the front one. And once we were finished up with that, I finished by putting the other 2 in on the other side also. I never showed that, and yeah, then we'll get to the next steps here. So just starting off here, I just show you that I did the other bolts there just from another angle, and there's your wire on your starter and the ground wires below that. Just wanted to show you from another angle just so we didn't miss that. I just want to try and be detailed with this, guys. I installed my injector fuel rail. It just has the 2 bolts. Installed the spark plug wires. That's all simple stuff. Installed the knock sensor. It goes up there. And then underneath there's a line for your oil pump I installed, and the wire for the oil pump for the lever. There's a little C-clip on the end of that. There's also 3 vacuum lines in there all together that have to be put in.
Now that the motor was bolted into place, obviously I hooked up the wiring on your voltage regulator there. There's 2 wires. There's the starter wire again from another angle. And then when we go around to this side, right underneath where your recoil attaches there, that's where your one engine mount is, and the other one. So now with all that done, we're ready to attach our recoil and get ready to start putting on our exhaust on that side after. So back to this side, I put on my torque stopper that I'm showing right there. That's just a rubber piece in the end of that bolt. You just want that just touching the motor. And then I put on my reed boots and tighten them all snugged up. And then next I followed with the throttle bodies. I slid them in. There's a coolant line right there that goes onto the head. There's one that goes through the other side also, and then there's wiring for your throttle position sensor and your REV valves. I ran those hoses. I was showing the NOx sensor there again, but the REV valves go up, the vacuum lines go up to those. And then I put the Y pipe on and the heat shield there, as you can see. There's that torque stopper. I again just snug that up to the motor. I got the recoil on, and I got the coolant bottle in, and I filled it up with coolant just to get the system bled. There's a line that comes out of the top of the coolant bottle also that attaches to your head. I didn't film that, just don't forget it. And then there's one that comes out of the bottom there that attaches to the other side of your throttle bodies. That's what I'm trying to show right there. But yeah, we're pretty well buttoned up there. I was happy with all the hoses and wiring there. So now we're going to move on to getting the exhaust all in and installed. So before I get to the other side and the exhaust, I threw on the air box and my clutches and my tool kit. That's all simple stuff, so I just bolted them on quick off camera, torqued up the clutch to 90 foot-pounds, 89 actually. The air box is just 2 bolts. I got a set of vice grips there holding my oil pump wide open, so when I start the sled, it'll be able to bleed any air that's in it. It'll be getting lots of oil if there is any air in it. Yeah, that's pretty much it for there. Make sure that you connect your sensor there to your air box when you put your side panel back on. Your front expansion chamber there, there's a spring right there. There's 4 springs right there holding it to the Y pipe. Make sure you put your exhaust donut in there. Then it goes back to your main exhaust. Put your exhaust pipe sensor in there, your muffler sensor, reconnect your battery. And then there's 2 in there for springs, 1 there, and there should be another one up there. I didn't have one, but anyways, that's it. I left my coolant cap off there just to let it bleed out. I refilled my oil tank with oil right to the top, so it had more pressure pushing down on the oil pump, I figured, so it would aid in the bleeding process if there was any air in there. So now I'm good to throw my hood back on, and we're good to go.
Alright guys, so I just pulled it out of the garage. I started it up without the coolant cap on. Don't do that. You get coolant all over your exhaust and it'll smoke like crazy like mine's doing right now. I ran it for about 5 minutes with the oil pump on wide open. It was smoking really good, so I brought it back to the regular position, put the line back in where I had my vice grips on it, and took it for a spin up and down the driveway. Everything seems to run beautiful. So I just put the hood back on, dialed that all in. I really love the look of that pipe now that it's polished. I mean, I didn't polish it like crazy, but it looks a lot better than it did. It's so clean in there, a lot easier to see stuff. I retorqued the clutch once I got back. I'm ready for the belt guard. Just gotta tie up a couple wires in there that are loose. Otherwise, everything checked out a-okay. Just this exhaust was smoking. It all shot the coolant out all over here. But she's all good now. Stayed at a good temperature. Got a little warm, but I wasn't throwing up any snow. As you can see, I went down my driveway and back, and that's what I look like. So there's no, or that's what the sled looks like. So there was no snow to be thrown up. So that's probably why it got a little bit warm, and I had it idling for a long time. But overall, everything looks good. Pretty happy with it. I got all these wires down in here and stuff going to the side of the coming out of the magneto and stuff. I ran them differently than last time. It's a lot more free in there now. I don't know who did it last time, whoever had it apart. They were pretty rammed in there, so everything was zip tied together nice. Like, they did a decent job, but it was all touching and very tight. So now everything's loose in there and it's really free to work on, and everything is just a lot more clean in there, and I'm really happy with it. So it seems to run good. I was having issues with my starter coming out and touching the ring gear. That's why I thought I had bad engine mounts, so that's why I replaced them. Anyways, that's it, guys. Thanks for watching. Please give the channel a like and a subscribe. That's the engine removal or reinstall on a 600 SDI REV.
As always, guys, thanks for watching, and please give the channel a like and a subscribe. If my videos interest you, please click on my channel and check out my other videos.